Welcome to LA55 Customs. Today I'm going to show you how to change the oil on a 2015 Nissan Altima. This is the 2.5 liter. And I want to show you this product I've been using for years and years. This is the Amsoil. To me, it is by far a more superior product than any other oil out there. I just like the coverage of it. You know, they offer a lot of different products and absolutely love this. I've been using it seriously for probably the last 10 years. And we're going to go ahead and use this product in the Nissan. So, and the other thing too is like they also sell stuff like your gasoline additive. You want to use this when you fill your tank up. And then, so this will treat up to 30 gallons. And what you do is you just put it in your tank. You put in your tank every 4,000 miles, and it'll go through. You can use this in trucks, cars, and all that stuff, but it cleans your entire fuel system. So really good product, and I'm going to go ahead and do that for this customer, and I'm just going to add that in. All right, so here we are underneath the vehicle, and you know, changing your oil is extremely easy. I don't like taking it into shops and stuff. I like to know that what product I'm putting into it, how tight I get the oil drain plug. And I've just seen a lot of horror stories, and so I really highly recommend doing it yourself. Now, when you slide underneath your car, you'll see two different pans underneath here, especially on the Nissan. So here's this one here. Don't mistake it for... This is the transmission. This one is the transmission. You do not want to drain this oil out of here because then you're going to have to refill this. And it's pretty easy to decipher which one it is. Because, I mean, if you look back here, you have an input shaft coming off of your front wheel drive. So if you look here, there's your drive axle. And if you follow your drive axle back, it goes into the transmission. And if you look on the opposite side, there's one that exits here and goes on over. So that is definitely your transmission. You can look at it that way, or if you look from the top, you can tell, you know, you can also distinguish what it is. So this is your oil pan on this side here. And what you're going to use for this, this one actually is a 9/16. And I always like to use the 6-point because it's a positive lock on here. If you use the 12-point, sometimes it strips out your nuts, and so or your bolt on there. And so what you want to do is you're just going to get on it, and you just make sure that you're going the right direction, and you're going to loosen the bolt, not tighten it. So you go ahead and just take it and that was on it pretty good. Make sure that you have a rag down on the floor, and then also you need your oil drain pan right here, and you just set it up underneath your vehicle. And then what we're going to do is, now that you got it loosened, just go ahead and take it out, and then we'll just let the oil drain out of it. Now, I know that this individual has not changed the oil in a while, and you can see that it's extremely black. So it's really good to get in there and change your oil frequently. So let's go ahead and let this drain out. And then you also want to do it when it's warm. That way it breaks up all your oil, and then it'll get more of that oil out. If you do it when it's cold, there's a lot of stuff, maybe sludge or whatever in there that you're not getting out. So do it when it's somewhat warm. You know, don't get it super hot because you're going to burn the tar out of your hands. But anyways, let's move on. Okay, after your oil has drained, go ahead and inspect your oil drain plug. Make sure that you have no contaminants or anything that would make this drip or leak. Your crush washer, which is that copper piece sitting there, make sure that that is in place and on there, because if you don't have a crush washer, it will leak. So, and then the other thing too is it's a good time if you needed to, if this was stripped out, like the head of it was stripped out, good time to change it. And the other thing too is when you screw it back on there, don't get it over tight. You know, you do like if you want to do 22 to 29 foot-pounds of torque, but I've seen too many people strip out your oil pan, and if you strip it out, you either have to helicoil it or you're gonna have to change out your oil pan. So go ahead and just get it, run it up with your fingers, and then just give it a little bit of a, maybe a quarter of a turn, and just get it good and snug. The other thing too is clean up the mating surface. So where this bolt screws up into the oil pan, you want to clean it up really good so there's no debris there, and so it makes a perfect seal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead and clean up the oil pan, and then we'll go ahead and reinstall this. All right, so here's the oil that came out of it. That is really black. That's neglect on the engine itself. So it's a good thing that we got it changed out for the lady. And this is your lifeblood of your engine. So the oil that's pumping through it is keeping your engine maintained, and frequent oil changes, you have to get that done. I mean, it's very important. Now to go on to the actual oil filter itself, I've seen people do it where you take the tire and rim off to access the oil filter. But if you have your car jacked up already, and on the passenger side, your oil filter is going to be on the front side of the engine. And so if you go underneath here, there's a little, which whoever changed the oil last time did not put the keeper back in right here. So here's your tire right here, right directly behind the tire. If you feel more comfortable taking off the tire and rim, do it. Go ahead and do it. But you can access it without doing it. And if you pop off the keeper, there's plastic keepers that run up the side. There's one there, and then it goes up. There's one at the top. There's one way up there. There's one over here on this side over there. And then you got the bottom one. But if you look, you can actually take and just open this up, and there's your oil filter right there. You do want to put there's going to be oil in that oil filter. So what you want to do is you're going to slide the oil pan underneath it again, and some rags just to catch any excess oil. But super easy to do. You get on it, spin it off, and then go ahead and clean it up again too before you mate up the new oil filter. And you also want to double check and make sure that the oil filters are the correct ones. So sit them side by side and match it up. So let's get underway. All right, so we're going to use a swivel oil filter wrench. This one actually, you got to go really small. This is the 2 3/8 inch to 2 5/8 inch, because the oil filter itself is extremely small. So we're going to go ahead. You have these also, which is another option that you can use. But evidently I don't have one small enough for that. These are end cap filters. So you just take it, slide it over top of your oil filter, and you spin it off. These are really nice. Highly recommend these. However, the size of this oil filter, it does not even come close. So this is the oil filter that you're going to be using if you get Amsoil, and it's pretty small. So, but anyways, let me take off that oil filter, and I'm going to show you the next step. So now that we have the old oil filter out, what you want to do is you want to match everything up and make sure that they're the same in height, as well as you want to take your oil filter, flip it over, and then set it on top of each other and make sure it's the same circumference. And then also what's nice about it is when you take it off, you can see where the oil has touched down. So that is definitely right on the money. And then, you can kind of look at the difference in hole here and stuff. Now, every filter is made a little bit different on the inlet. So, like this is flat with the holes going around it. This here actually tapers in, and then it has holes more frequently cut, and it doesn't make a difference. It works the same way. Once again, this is the Amsoil product. So if you're looking for the Amsoil, And this is the number that you're going to be using if it is OEM from the Nissan dealer itself. That is the number that you're going to want to get for the 2.5 liter. So now when you go and install the new oil filter, what you want to do is go ahead and take a little bit of the oil, your new oil, and dip your finger in it and run it around the actual rubber seal to get that pliable. So when you spin it on, it does make a better seat. And because as you can tell, when you take off the old one, you know, it is really, it's coated. So, because there's been a lot of oil that's pumping through here. And, you know, this is where your oil goes in, it gets all filtered, it pumps back out through your engine. So go ahead and just take just a little bit and just run it along the ridge here. And then when you're ready to install it, clean up the mating surface where this screws back onto. Clean that up really well. That way you have no debris that is going to hinder the sealing of the oil filter itself. Because the thing is, you do not want a drip happening. So go ahead and do that. And what you'll do is you'll screw it on hand tight and then give it about another quarter turn. That's it. That's all you need. Don't over tighten it. You can strip these things out. Then you're in for a nice little treat on changing other parts out. So let me go ahead and get this installed and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I went ahead and put a light coating of new oil on top of the seal itself. So go ahead now and clean up your mating surface, which up underneath here, just go in here and then just clean it up with a shop rag, just a towel, whatever. Clean it up really well. Make sure there's no debris or anything that's going to hinder the sealing and the mating of the two parts. So once that's done, go ahead and screw it on, like I said, hand tight, and then give it maybe like quarter of a turn. The other thing too, while you're under here, just go ahead and clean up this oil. See how the oil has been leaking down here. That's from, you know, when I spun off the oil filter. So go ahead and clean that up. Good habit to get into. All right, now that you're done, go ahead. Don't forget to put your keeper on that that splash pan, that splash guard, the plastic piece. I'll show you here in a second. You can get these off eBay, Amazon, stuff like that. You can go to your local auto parts store. They'll have these keepers, and you know, all you're going to do is just take one and basically push it in. You just have to find the right size. So let's go ahead and install that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so now that I cleaned it all up, you're gonna take and you wanna make sure it's the right size, which that one isn't, but this is where I'm talking. So you're gonna take and push the keeper up inside of here to hold it in place. Okay, now that you got everything buttoned up underneath your vehicle and you're ready to add the oil, go ahead and remove your jack stands, remove your floor jack, get the car back on the ground on all four wheels. That way, when you take a reading for your through your dipstick, it'll be correct and it won't give you a false reading. So now when you pull your dipstick out, what you're gonna have is, if you look here, you've got, there's an L for the low. And so where that hole is at, that is your low point. And this is your high point for the H. And there's a hole right there. So manufacturer specifications require you to fill it up to that hole right there. And that will give you full maximum coverage. I never go below that. So if you fall down in this area here, the coverage isn't as good for your motor, so there's a chance that you could do damage to your engine. If you fall below the low, you're going to start doing damage to your motor, guaranteed. So check your oil. Go through and check it frequently. You know, like once a month. Just make sure that everything is kosher. Again, make sure that you get it up into the full mark. Do not exceed it. If you exceed it, you can also damage your engine. But this is the manufacturer specifications for like Nissan or whatever you're using, Ford, Chevy. But you always want to fill to the full mark itself. So let's go ahead and we'll start putting in your oil. Now this is a 5-quart capacity engine. A lot of different ones use different variations of quarts. So you need to kind of look it up on Google it and see, or call the your local dealer and then see how many quarts that you can actually that you need to put into your engine, because every engine is different. So this is your oil filter cap. So you're going to take that off. You want to inspect that also. There's always a rubber seal. Just inspect that to make sure that it is sealing good. And if you notice right down here, that's where the seal is at, right on the very top. This oil was really bad, so I'll report it back to the to the individual. So go ahead and grab yourself a funnel. This way here. Pop it down in place. Make sure your funnel's clean too, because you don't want to have a dirty funnel. If you start pouring your oil in there, you're going to take all that debris and it's going to go right down in your engine, and that is not good. So go ahead and open up one of your quarts. And go ahead and start dumping her in. So the other thing too is, you know, a lot of questions that I had was, what do you do with your old oil? Well, if you can take and you put your oil back into a container like a plastic milk jug or something to that nature, or an old antifreeze container, your old oil container, you can take it down to a lot of auto parts stores and they will actually take it for free for you. So that is the way to dispose of it. Do not dump it into your trash. That is against the law. So just go ahead and put it in a plastic container, label it on the outside, take it down to your local auto parts store, and they should take it for free. If they don't, they'll know the spot that you need to take it to dump. So go ahead and just finish off. You know, I always like to check it after you do like 4 out of the 5, and then I'll check the dipstick. So let me just finish up with the 4 and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I just went ahead and dumped 4 quarts in. I'm gonna go ahead and check the oil. Now also you gotta realize too that the oil is still settling down into your oil pan itself. So it's gonna run through your head, all the way down through your block, down into the oil pan. So it's gonna take a little bit for it to go all the way down, but you kind of get a good idea. So now when you pull it, go ahead and wipe off your oil dipstick. And then we're gonna go ahead and feed her back down in. And it should be golden color. I mean, that is ideally the best. So now if you look at it, the oil is a little bit down, so see where that's at right there. Beautiful color. And then it's 3/4 full on the dipstick. So you want to get up to the high section. So you want it to go up here. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 5th one in, and that also will account for the oil filter itself. So we'll go ahead and put that in. The other thing too is I'm going to show you. This is what they call for through Nissan. It's SAE 0820. And I always use 100% synthetic motor oil. Once you use synthetic motor oil, you cannot go back to just the standard motor oil, because it actually will start breaking down your seals if you do. Synthetic by far is the best oil to use in any motor out there. So again, I highly recommend Amsoil. I actually am a dealer. I'll be posting a link here shortly on where you can buy this stuff through. But go ahead and put in your last quart, and you should be good to go. Start it up, let it run for a little bit. It takes about 30 seconds for the oil to get from the crankcase up into the top of the heads. So go ahead and start it up, let it pump up and get everything flowing, and then check underneath your vehicle to see if there's any drips or leaks or anything. And other than that, you're good to go. Standard oil change would take seriously about around 20 minutes, half an hour to do. Took me a little longer because I'm videoing, but hope you like this video. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I do a ton of videos on a weekly basis. We do giveaways, and if you have any questions, shoot me a comment, and I'll see if I can't get to you in a timely fashion. And have a good day. Okay, so now that we're all done and completed, now before you start your motor, go ahead and I put all 5 quarts in the system. What the manufacturer of Nissan, their specifications stated 5 quarts, so I put the 5 quarts in there. That also counts for your oil filter. When you pull your dipstick out before you start your motor, when you pull your dipstick out, it's going to show that it's going to be above the full mark. But you also have to take into consideration that amount of oil that's above the full mark is what's going to transfer into your oil filters. So that's about 1/2 quart. So once you're satisfied that this is topped off to where the manufacturer wants it to be, go ahead and start your engine. Just let it run for a few minutes and let that oil circulate before you go driving it, and get that oil pumping through your engine. And the other thing too I like to do, this way you can always keep a running. Here we go. So now we're inside. So you have your 2 different tripometers, which is right there. Let me show you. Okay, so here's your mileage right there. Right below it it'll show like an A or a 1 or whatever, but that's your tripometer. And so what you do is take number B, so kick it to B, and then what I like to do is I like to reset that, and that now becomes your oil change. So then you can set it. So let's push and hold that, and then set it back to 0. So now that the oil just got changed, start driving it, and then in 6 months, 4 months or whatever, check it again, see where it's at, and then just hit your button and go through and go to your B tripometer, and then see where your mileage is at. Now every oil is different, different manufacturers. Amsoil, I know you can run a lot longer in your motor if you use a synthetic oil. If you use engine additive, everything takes into consideration. But go ahead and change your B tripometer. That way, if you track your mileage on your gas, your tripometer, and you reset it and stuff, that's what that's for. But use number B, and there you go. So anyways,